start my day. Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. A, B, C.
Welcome back, guys, on my YouTube channel. I am back with tutorial videos on how to turn your enduro bike into an adventure rally bike. Today, I'm gonna show you how to convert your Husqvarna 701 LR model into an adventure bike with the Rebel X Sports Rally Kit. This tutorial video works for all the 701 models, so from 2016 to 2021 included, because in the 2021 model the OEM dashboard is slightly changed as you have the neutral inside the display. But even in this case, the street legal rally kit will be compatible also with the 2021 model. An important aspect of the Rebel X Sports Rally Kit that differs from other rally kits on the market is that it's fully homologated, so you have street legal lights with homologation papers, and you can get it homologated at the TÜV if you're in Germany, because all the parts are production parts, and also the side fairing panels come with a certification of the material that is used for the side panel, so you can get your bike TÜV approved. To start with, let me show you all that comes inside the box. It all comes pre-assembled. Recently, Rebel has done a checklist so that it can be easy also to see on their website what is included. We have the main tower body, on which we already installed a RAM mount, because you have the placement on this nav tower for two devices. It can be two smartphones, two GPS, one tablet and one action camera. The possibilities are unlimited. On the side of the tower, we already installed the USB ports and voltmeter display. When you open the box, this comes inside a small bag, so it's not already installed, but to make the tutorial quicker, I placed it already on the tower. On the other side, we have the 6-way fuse box with LED error indicator. This is super useful, and we will use this as our main power supply. So all the devices we are gonna put on the tower will be wired directly into this fuse box. We have then the headlight. We have Hella homologated LED lights, high beam, low beam, and position light. Everything is sealed inside this headlight mask and with this stone guard. This will be easy and plug and play, as the wiring harness for the lights is included. This instead will be our frame clamp. This is the most important part and crucial part of a rally kit, because this is what holds all the weight of the tower with all your devices. So it's a CNC machine part, and it features a U-clamp that goes around the frame, so no possibility to lose your tower. On this small bracket, we will place all the indicators, the neutral, oil, and turn signal indicators. Then we also have the ABS switch and the possibility to have 3 on-off LED switches, to which you can choose what you want to wire, what you want to be able to turn on and off. So it's not compulsory to wire all these switches, and it's nice that if you're not using them on this bike, you might use them on another bike. These are the headlight brackets. In this case, we installed some LED turn indicators, some smaller ones, but it's designed to fit with the OEM indicators of the bike. So no worries, you can put the Husqvarna OEM indicators, but smaller indicators I think look cooler. But now let's move on to the fun part, and let's start assembling the kit on the bike. The first thing we will want to do is to remove the headlight. At the moment, I already plugged off all the wires behind, so there's a bit of a mess because I wanted to speed up a bit the video. Be sure now to move aside all the wires so that we'll have the headstock all nice and free to start installing the frame clamp. I already slotted in the U-clamp around the frame. To do this, you'll have to remove the 2 black screws that hold the plastic covers on the sides, and then you'll be able to put it in nicely. We simply slide in the U-bolt from the side and then turn it around in order to have the 2 threaded parts perfectly in the front. Then we'll get the frame clamp and remove the bolts, and we will also remove these small brackets and place them on later. Now that I removed all the parts from the CNC machine, the frame clamp, we're ready to slide it onto the U-bolt. Be sure to make the clamp go all the way against the frame. Then we will start putting on the nuts. We'll tighten them, but not too much, so that we will still be able to slide the clamp a bit, because once we install the full tower, we need to be sure it's perfectly straight. Once you've tightened these nuts, not too much so that the clamp can move, we are ready to add these and install them, and this will add stability to the whole frame clamp, so it has the U-bolt plus these clamps around the headstock. We are now ready to install the pre-assembled nav tower. We'll just push it against the head clamp and place the 4 bolts. Once you install the tower, tighten only the bolts on the right-hand side, because then we'll need to place all these disgusting bunch of wires inside the tower. So I will now remove the emergency kit bracket, and one very cool feature that only the Rebel X Sports Rally Kit has is that it has threaded spacers. This means I can remove only one side of the tower and keep everything on, and the spacers will stay on. This will help me a lot in order to place all the wires inside. If I need to access the tower and any wiring of any device, it will be very easy even once the build is completed, because we will always be able to remove only one side of the tower and keep everything else on. Now that we removed the side of the tower, we can access all the wires, and if we want to wire the USB directly to one switch, or we want to wire it directly to the fuse box, that is up to you. And since we need to place all the OEM wiring and connectors inside the tower, we'll now use this hole on the tower body in order to make all the wires come in, and since we have all this space, we can place them nicely and neatly inside the tower and on the spacers with some zip ties. Be sure that when you start putting all the connectors through the tower, that you start with the biggest connector and then go your way through till the smallest connectors. Don't do the opposite, because then the biggest connectors won't go through, since the hole is designed to be perfect just to fit all of them in this order. I kept on filming because I wanted to show you the time it takes to put all the wires through, because on my Honda CRF 450L tutorial video, some people said that I didn't show the wiring process, and it's what's giving the most headaches to people. For sure, placing nicely the wires takes time, but you have to understand that one thing is, if you do this every day, like I do building bikes here in the workshop, it's pretty easy and quick. But if you're building your bike for the first time and are not used to play around with wires and placing them nicely, just take your time and don't stress out, because I can guarantee you that on any of the bike builds I've made, the wires can be placed nicely. It's just a matter of time. So there is enough space to twist the handlebars and everything. Now that all the wires are through, you have this wire in the box, the ACC2 power wire. This is to power the fuse box, but you have 2 outlets. One says ACC1 and one ACC2. What's the difference? ACC2 means you will have power only when the bike is turned on. So when you switch off the bike, there is no power and nothing is going through the fuse box. If you put it on ACC1, it's continuous current. It means that you will always have power, and in case you want to use the ACC1, you'll have to wire this to a switch and not direct to the fuse box, so that you can turn off power. If not, you'll always have power from the 6 outlets. The other wire you will want to plug in before start fixing all on the spacers is the headlight wire. It's plug and play. It says lights on one side, so you can't go wrong. You plug it in the OEM connector, so nothing to do, it's just plug and play. Now you're ready to start placing the wires. Be sure that these connectors with the green and red, you keep them to the front of the tower because these will be the turn indicators connectors. Some people are confused what these two washers are for, so I'll quickly show you. We get the OEM dashboard. Once you have this connected, you will have the two torque bolts and the two rubbers. You insert the rubbers here in the two holes. Once these are inserted, you'll make the connector go through here and push the OEM dashboard all the way to the bottom here on the back. Before putting the OEM bolts, we'll add the washers. This is because this bracket is slightly thinner than the plastic it's mounted on originally, so this will add a bit of thickness so that everything is then nice and firm. To make your life easier while you're placing all the wires, we are going to install the bracket with the odometer, and we're going to install it only on one side. For sure, when you were plugging off wires, you forgot where these goes. These are the LEDs behind the neutral, oil and engine lights. But don't worry, because on each wire there's written the reference. You have oil for the one that goes to the oil indicator, you have neutral for the one that goes to the neutral, and so on. Now that I connected everything, put everything inside the tower and zip tied all, clearly I didn't wire the USB ports, voltmeter display and switch. I'll do that in a second moment because we need to film the video by tonight. I kept out the ACC2 wire because I'll have to plug in that in the fuse box and here on this other hole for the ground. I have my headlight cables and also the USB ports. Now we install the side of the tower. Now we are ready to tighten these bolts. If you want, you can add some thread lock. Be sure that when you install the side of the tower, you're not pinching any wires. Now that we close the tower, we are ready to plug in the power wire to the fuse box. We'll put the red here, and all the grounds of all the instruments we will wire together using this hole or any other hole on the tower. Power wire is wired. Now we're ready for the headlight brackets. We remove the 4 bolts that are pre-installed with the nuts and just place them and then tighten the nuts. Now that the brackets are on, we're ready to install the windshield bracket. We will remove these bolts. We will install the bracket, place the bolts, but we will only tighten them by hand for now. Later, once we put the headlight, we will completely tighten them. While you're installing your rally kit, check all the wires every step you move forward. Now I realize that this headlight wire shouldn't be above this spacer because it won't be long enough to go and connect to the headlight. So the very cool thing of the Rebel X Sports tower is that it's so easy to work yourself around. I'll just need to loosen 4 bolts, remove the upper bracket, and I'll make the wire run beneath that spacer and put back on the GPS bracket. One thing I need to specify is this is the adventure bracket. The kit comes OEM with the adventure bracket. If you want the roadbook bracket, you'll need to buy this separately, but it's super easy to install because I'll remove the 4 bolts, remove this bracket and place the roadbook bracket. So it will be very quick to switch from one setup, from a rally setup to an adventure setup in case you want to take part in any rally. Time for the headlight. Now be sure that the position light wire, you'll run it through this hole on the windshield bracket. While you're sliding in the headlight, you might need to help yourself with your hands just to widen a bit the brackets. Once you place the headlight, don't tighten immediately the screws, the 4 screws, because Here we have the possibility to tilt the angle of the light and also bring it up and down. So we will leave everything loose, place the windshield, check everything is in position and then tighten. And also to be sure that our headlight is pointing where we want the light. Now that the headlight is on, one thing you'll want to do is connect the headlight wires, and on the bottom of the bracket there are many holes. These are intended for you to put zip ties so that the wire is nice and neat where you can't see it. We're getting towards the end of the build. Now it's time to assemble the windshield with the lower air scoop. We will use these black rubber grommets. You'll put them through, and then with the black torque bolts, we will go and tighten everything. When you tighten these bolts, there is no need to tighten super hard. Just put your finger underneath the rubber, push it and tighten it until you feel that the bolt is coming out from the rubber grommet, and that's it. Now let's put on the windshield. In this way we will adjust the headlight and then tighten the 4 screws, but also we will check the tower position. This will help us put everything straight, and once we are sure everything is straight, we will tighten the U-bolt nuts and the lower bolts of the lower clamps. Now that everything is on, we can start tightening the U-bolt, and these nuts you'll tighten at 25 Newton meter if you want to know the torque value, even though I always recommend don't rely on torque values, rely on your arms and on your experience. While you're tightening it, don't tighten all the time only on one side. You will want to alternate between one side and the other, so that in this way you will keep the tower straight. But as you go along, always check to be sure everything is in place perfectly. Just to be sure everything is straight, help yourself also with the side panels and check that on both sides it's touching the lower scoop and that it's not pushing on one side more than the other. Time for the side panels. For the side panels, we will do something pretty simple, but just take your time. We will need to place them here on the yellow plastic. To do so, we will rivet them. If you want, you can even put some bolts. I prefer to rivet them. 4 rivets are inside the box, 2 per each side, but if you want to secure it even more firmly, you can use even 3 rivets. So now we will remove the plastic. What we will do is we will drill a small hole, 3mm hole, so that we can place 1 rivet, and then we will check and do the other hole. Once the first hole is done, we will put the rivet through. Don't worry if you go wrong in this process. If you do a wrong hole, you have plenty of space and you can keep on drilling different holes, nothing will happen. This is why we first put only 1 rivet towards the back of the side panel, because once this is installed, we will put the plastic back on the bike, put the windshield, check that everything is in the right position, and then drill the second hole. If it's not in the right position, take note and see if you need to slide the side panel more forward, more backwards, up or down, and then just take off the rivet and drill another hole and do the same process again. Riveting is only one of the options. It's the option I personally prefer, but you can also drill a hole and put a bolt and nut. That works the same. Now that the side panel is riveted, you can see it can slide up and down. You can place the yellow plastic on without the need of putting the bolts at the moment, just for checking. Now that we are checking, we drilled the first hole in the perfect position, because you can see here all is nice and smooth. So we have the place where we will drill the hole for the Jesus fastener. Now I will take down again the yellow plastic, drill the second hole, and lastly we will drill the Jesus fastener hole. Before drilling the last hole, we'll put back on the bolts on the yellow tank cover. Now that we will drill the Jesus fastener hole, my advice is first drill like a 3mm hole and check you're in the right position. But since I'm doing it all the time, I'll just go direct and drill the 7mm hole. Now just check how perfect the center of my hole is. Isn't it so satisfying when you can drill a hole in the perfect position? This made my day. This is fastener and we are done. If you don't want the Giacomo fastener to fall off, you can put a plastic washer behind that has to be slightly smaller than 7mm, and this will stay in place. But when working on the bike, instead of putting the spring-loaded Giacomo fasteners like on the front, we didn't put them on the side for one reason. When you're working around the bike and the tower, we will have the windshield off, but this will stay on, and if you have this coming out in that way, we might go against it and rip it if we catch onto it, maybe with our gear or with something. I'll quickly show you how easy and quick it is to access the whole tower. And I almost forgot, we place back the emergency kit rain gear bracket. By the way, I'm seeing now all other rally companies that are making this bracket or are advertising their kit to feature a rain gear emergency kit placement. I guess Rebel Exports was the first, and it gave the idea to all the other companies. Since I know probably all the other rally kit companies are watching my tutorial videos, just, I don't know, drop me a tip, because I'm making your life easier when designing your new rally kits. Lastly, we will put the cable guide. In this way, we will have the wires all nicely near the fork and not going anywhere around. You put zip ties and it's done. Well guys, we have come to the end of the video. I hope this was useful. If you're interested in the rally kit, you find in the description the direct link where you can find also more information about it. I will now move on to completing the build, the adventure build that I promised you guys a long time ago. Next step is we are gonna have a full sticker kit designed, and I will try and keep it simple but more blue color than mainly white like it is at the moment. Then we will put the saddlebags, and I might order one of those switches that lets you command your tablet directly from the handlebar. I'm very curious to test them and bring that review to you. I really appreciate all the support you have given me. Leave in the comments any questions you have on this particular bike or on anything you would like to see in the next videos, because I'm really interested to know what are the type of contents you are more interested about. Thanks for watching. Ciao.